You a guest, speak of my name, better put respect. Step up to me, gotta come correct. Fuck who got now or who got up next. Hit. Hey y'all, the prophet Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long overdue, I know the streets been waiting. Which takes a lot of patience, cause you never rush straight. This was for the record, but going down history in the making. Hey y'all, the prophet Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long overdue, I know the streets been waiting. Which takes a lot of patience, cause you never rush straight. This was for the record, but going down history in the making.
Hail the prophet, Charlie Black, Black prophet, that's a fact. Going down in history and it's a fact. It's a deadly combo, niggas know that. Prophet, that's a fact. Black prophet, on the bottom of the map. It's Atlanta, Georgia to Florida. We up in them waters, it's on, bruh. Black prophet, that's a fact. Deadly combination, y'all got it at. They ain't ready for that shit, Charlie Black. Let's give it to him, bro. Welcome. Black Friday.
Hey guys, had a hard time trying to get to you all today. But we're so glad that you're here to tune in with us. We appreciate your patience. We have a great show planned for you today.
Yes, we do.
So, with everything that just happened Friday being Juneteenth and also World Sickle Cell Day, that is what we're going to focus on today. And to start things off, we have a little special treat from my other half, Mia. She has something that she wants to share with you all just to get the conversation started. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it to her so she can open us up tonight.
So if you did not know about the Genotype Jamboree that was hosted by the As One Foundation with Dr. Austin and Devard Darling, there was a jamboree for World Sickle Cell Day, and I was asked to do spoken word, and this is what I came up with. Seems like 2020 brought fire and brimstone. God ain't pleased. Long after some of us suffocated on slave ships, we still talk. Sam Cooke said a change gonna come. Obama said, yes, we can. But even after all of that, they still killing the Black woman and man. The manifestation of a collective awakening is happening before my eyes. Truths are being revealed. No more room for your lies. It's long overdue that we fight this fight again and stop having this discussion just every now and then. Mask on, mask off. We talking future or corona. We should definitely get our advice from the ones with the diploma. I pray that you are adjusting and you find the rainbow amidst the clouds. Just be cautious and keep it safe, especially around the crowds. We've all been on this same emotional roller coaster, so please don't get discouraged. Strength and resilience is in our DNA. We can't help but to flourish. So keep your head up, queen. Straighten your back up, kings. Even when they cracking the whip and the cat o' nine stings. We are the first and the last, the alpha and the omega. Compared to the others, there's no one that's greater. We are born into this life. Survival of the fittest. The original X-Men didn't know we'd be the illest.
That was so awesome. I'm really glad you got an opportunity to participate in that event, and I'm definitely glad that you got the opportunity to read it here on our platform. So kudos to you. I love it when you do big things.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I got to do the spoken word while um Charlie Black and AR the Prophet got to rap. So that was
My favorite people.
exactly. I think I kind of posted spoke that into existence last year. So when it popped up this year, I was like, Dr. Austin, I spoke this up, right? So that was a lot of fun. It was just so much going on for World Sickle Cell Day that it was just bananas. I honestly felt overwhelmed by everything that was going on. I know the As One Foundation was doing the jamboree all day. So they started, I think, Thursday in Nigeria. Then
Wow.
went to the Netherlands, and then they literally did World Sickle Cell Day, right? They were everywhere, but from the comfort of their home.
That's how
So
you gotta do it, especially in these times.
exactly. So
So that
so since sickle cell is a global issue, you know, COVID-19 isn't the only thing that's bothering the whole world. It's also sickle cell. And I pulled up some information, of course, about global sickle cell statistics. And by 2050, the number of people with sickle cell disease is expected to increase by about 30% globally. I think
okay.
that's pretty
So let's take a pause there and talk about that for a second.
okay.
30% globally, an increase. So you know how with the coronavirus they keep doing these models and they're like, okay, now, by July 4th, so and such amount of people are supposed to die. And oh, by this date, so and such amount of people will die. So when I look at that number at 30%, to me that's too much because we should all be working towards decreasing the amount of people who are performing sickle cell as opposed to increasing it. So I look at this number and I think to myself, what can we do to change that model? And I'm coming up with education, education, education.
Yeah, I don't think we'll technically
We
ever
need to,
job because the education has to be constant for the ones already existing and for the ones that are to come. Um, will forever be educating people on sickle cell disease. We got a lot of work cut out for us.
we definitely do because when I see that number, I'm like, Dad, we need to grind harder because there should not be an increase with the amount of resources that we have and the amount of information that has been coming out about sickle cell and the research that's being done. And like I
Treat
literally had NIH contact me recently to do a survey, and I'm like, you know, we have to continuously be having these conversations because that 30% should not be. We need to be able to figure out some kind of way to change that predicted model.
exactly. Now, the some organizations, such as the World Health Organization and the United Nations, have recognized sickle cell disease as a global health issue. So in 2006, the World Health Assembly passed a resolution recognizing sickle cell disease as a public health priority and called on countries to tackle the disease. And this resolution was adopted by the United Nations in 2009. That's, I guess that's good, but that information is so old. That's 2006 and 2009. Like
Right.
what's
We're in 2020.
right, right, right. So it's like what's been done? How has that changed? Has it gotten better since then? I kind of feel like it's the same amount of people that know about it that knew about it then. So maybe it's different people. It's
So you saying that makes me think about Juneteenth this year. It was a big deal this year. Juneteenth, you and I are usually somewhere at somebody's Juneteenth celebration with a booth somewhere. It's not something that's new to either of us. It's not some, new holiday that somebody said they made famous. Is none of those things to us, but it took on a life of its own this year. So I'm waiting for the day when sickle cell takes on a life of its own in the same way.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that because it's overshadowed a lot, not just with Juneteenth, but period. And with Juneteenth, we're celebrating the freedom of our people here in the U.S. And in the U.S., sickle cell is predominantly us
Right.
celebrating. So it's not. I hate that one has to
Like
overshadow
it's like,
the other.
oh well, it's Juneteenth. What's World Sickle Cell Day? Like you don't know about both of them.
Right.
And it's actually a little polarizing to me, like because on one hand, I'm like, yay, it's Juneteenth, celebrate, jubilation, all that kind of stuff. But then on the other hand, on the same day, I'm like, hey, it's also World Sickle Cell Day, and some of my people, some of my friends aren't here to celebrate today.
Right.
So that's a bigger discussion. Juneteenth celebrates, the emancipation when the slaves found out that they were emancipated, but we're also still experiencing this huge disparity in healthcare in the Black community. And I'm waiting for us to have that sort of jubilation also.
Exactly. Exactly. Not just about, well, of course about sickle cell, but it's a lot of um illnesses that affect us predominantly that's making us even more sicker. So
Yeah, I agree.
so I did also see that 90% of children with sickle cell disease do not survive the adulthood in resource poor countries. When I was reading I read that several times, and one part said that of course it happens more in resource poor countries because they don't have the proper treatment. But then it went into newborn screening, um, which I thought was very interesting as well. So in certain places, newborn screening is not widespread. Um,
Right.
especially I'm jumping around because I went from global to now I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Caribbean, but it talked about in the Caribbean how certain territories, like the British, the French, and the United States, the French government covers all newborn screening tests, 100%.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Right. The U.S. will cover only a certain like 99%, but they charge the patient for the actual newborn screening test. Um, the U.S. don't cover it all, which I'm not surprised, and I wonder what other illnesses the patient has to pay for the testing
For this.
instead of it being automatic. And then for the British um, countries, it was I mean, the British islands. It was their system is set up differently, so I guess it just depends on what island you belong to. But the newborn screening in Jamaica was one of the ones that set the tone for the rest of the newborn screening in the Caribbean islands. So I thought that was pretty interesting, even though it's still not where it needs to be.
Well, I mean, when you say that, that just goes to show you the difference between healthcare in America and versus healthcare in other countries. So everything that you say, there's like a bigger issue that needs to be addressed. Like, okay, we can get your newborn screened, however, it's going to cost you. But if you live in certain countries, I mean, just having a baby comes with all these different benefits, whether that baby has sickle cell or not. But here, we don't have any of those things. So it's interesting to see how, our healthcare system as a whole, how it boils down to the treatment that people are getting for sickle cell disease.
Right. I can completely agree with you on that. let's see what other information we found out, because like I said, I found so much interesting stuff. One of them was that so of course, thanks to the Atlantic slave trade, we were all spread out everywhere. And one of the things that I saw that was interesting with Cuba is that they have a um, high percentage. I want to say this
I'm
because
sorry. Go ahead.
I think it's horrible and it needs to be brought up. So, and it might be some Americans that feel this way. Hey, do what you do. But I'm gonna read it word for word because I
Go
couldn't
ahead,
paraphrase.
read it word for word so people can really hear this and digest it and let it marinate a little bit. Go ahead.
All right. Among the independent nations, Cuba has an integrated public health program in sickle cell disease prenatal testing for couples at risk and carrier women was mandated by law in 1983. This program seeks to actively prevent the births of children with sickle cell disease and is perhaps the most active in promoting the termination of pregnancies, since termination of pregnancy was requested by 76.5% of at risk couples.
So, pause. Let's discuss this. Me, born in 1982, and you, let's discuss this. I don't agree with
I think
that handling of it. I understand it, but that doesn't mean I agree. I absolutely do not agree with that. And I know that we say all the time, I personally would not choose to have a child who may have sickle cell, but that comes from me in the form of making a decision in who my partner is going to be. So, from that perspective, I understand not bringing more children into the world who have sickle cell disease. As a mother, I would not want my child to go through what I go through. So I understand that. However, if I did not do my due diligence and I ended up with a child who could potentially have sickle cell, I would be I'm trying to say it very politically correct. I'd be very adamant about me having the autonomy to make that decision on my own as to whether I would bring that child into existence or not.
I can agree with that.
I really want to
I can agree with that. Like you said, I disagree with that. Period. And it is so many scenarios to that, but that's why we also try to bring education. That way, even if you never was tested for sickle cell before, you can. Oh well, it might ring a. I don't know. There's got to be some way to educate these people before. Oops, you got a baby. You pregnant
now
with
terminate it.
right. You pregnant with a baby with sickle cell. You want to terminate? You want to give abortion? I
Okay.
don't. Right. Like, and is it that? Well, no. They said that most couples requested that, so it's not necessarily the doctors just offering it. But then again, are they? You want to go
But
ahead?
why are they? It's like when you go to the doctor. Oh my God, I'm sorry. When you go to the doctor, your doctor leads you away. Like they tell you something,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry about my dog. Your doctor leads you away towards making certain decisions, this way or that way, based on the information that they give you. So, what are these physicians telling these couples that are making them say 76% of the time that they would like to terminate their birth?
Right. 'Cause if they're well versed in sickle cell, if they know a little bit of something about a little bit of something about sickle cell, then hopefully they are asking their partners. And if they still know and not asking their partners, I really hope they're not aborting it anyway, because
Right.
you're you might as well just break up with the boo if you're gonna abort every kid y'all have together, because
Right.
of them, all of them are gonna have sickle cell. So
Right.
I thought that was just
I think that's bananas. That's such a high percentage. Like, and we're not, this isn't even a conversation about pro choice, pro life. It's not even a conversation about that. It's just like, I kind of see that as a public health crisis. 76%.
right.
That means that you guys do not have the education in place to prevent that from even occurring in the first place. And that's where the disconnect lies.
Yep. Agreed. So let's go back to, let's see, on my list of statistics. It's estimated that each year 300,000 babies with severe forms of genetic diseases are born worldwide, the majority in low and middle income countries. Yeah, I talked about that. Specifically, the World Health Organization will, and is in relation to sickle cell, increase awareness of the international community of the global burden of these disorders, promote equitable access to health services, provide technical support to countries for the prevention and management of sickle cell, and promote and support research to improve quality of life for those affected. I don't think there's been much
And that
support.
quality of life department.
I don't think there's been much of that, period. Just,
Okay. I agree because a
I don't,
lot of people with sickle cell, um, like small wins are big. Like for someone, I know a lot of my friends are like, girl, I just made it. I made my bed today. I got up today and took a shower and I made my bed today. Like I'm doing it big. That's not living, that's surviving. And we do need more resources as far as it's concerned about improving quality of life. Now, I do believe that the advent of the two new drugs approved by the FDA could maybe help in the quality of life department, if they work the way we expect them to work, then maybe that's a way of attacking the quality of life issue. Um, but waking up in a day and not being in pain and being able to, do something that you really want to do and enjoy. Now that's the direction we need to be heading
that should be our normal, not what you said previously. That should be our normal. Being able to take care of our kids without having to take pain medicine, or even maybe not so much not having to take pain medicine, but just able to manage it better. Maybe that's with natural remedies. Maybe you like hemp cream, whatever that is. But a better quality of life includes being able to manage the disease better and not be so dependent on medication. So, because sometimes, yeah, you want to be able to function to raise your kid, and you're taking this Percocet. However, the Percocet can make you irritable. It can just change your mood altogether, and it can drowsy. So, really, how beneficial are you to the kid, especially if you're taking so many
a
pills?
day.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
have to wait. Okay, well, I gotta help my kid do homework at this time, so I'm gonna take the medicine at this time. Like, we have to actually plan it out. I remember when I was at work having to take my pain meds when I first got there, so that by the time I got off, they'll be worn off,
So
and
you
I'll
could
be
drive home.
yes, to drive home and then take some more for dinner. Like, that's not really the best quality of life that I wanted.
Yeah.
So
You find yourself kind of like constantly bartering with yourself. like, well, if you do this, I'll do that. You know what I'm saying? Like doing this trade off with yourself, trying to figure out like the best way to live your life. And I know that I am one of those people who do that all the time. Not even when it's just concerning, when to take my medication, but also when can I go to the hospital? Like, okay, I can't go to the hospital today because my son has a game on, tomorrow, and I don't want to miss that. Or he has, like, you find yourself making deals with yourself about how to best take care of yourself. And that's not a way to live either.
It's not. I definitely find myself doing that a lot more, trying to come away from the prescription meds and replace it with something more natural. So I definitely find myself bargaining with myself on a daily, on a nightly, trying to figure out what I can get away with and what is going to require me to actually take something. So sickle cell awareness 365 lifestyle.
No days off. We barter every day.
Right. No days off.
Not even
Okay.
Juneteenth. We ain't get paid for that day.
Right. Right. So another fact, like I said, we're jumping around, but something else that I found in my research was in particular about the Hispanic community. So sickle cell disease is also largely in the sickle cell community, but this particular study was studying sickle cell trait and renal function in Hispanics in the United States. Now, they talked about, they found that Dominican Hispanics with sickle cell trait are at increased risk for kidney disease. And of course, they found that in conjunction, of course, the same as African Americans. So that's something that Dominicans need to be aware of as well, that have the sickle cell trait, that they're increased chances of having chronic kidney disease. I had Dr. Austin on there to talk about that as it pertains to um, people with sickle cell trait. And I wonder, and I know the study was specific to Hispanics in the US and the Dominicans that live in the US, but I'm wondering if that's any different, if the disease, the chronic kidney disease statistics are any different from Dominicans in the Dominican Republic living with sickle cell trait,
Yeah, like
Like,
where
would
there
that
could
be any
be.
different? I don't think it would.
I mean, when you think about it and think about like what would the difference be to make the statistics different, I don't really. I mean, I'm not a specialist on that, so I can't speak to it. But it doesn't. Nothing comes to mind as like what the difference would be. Like, what's the major difference that would change that statistic versus, living in the
Right,
Dominican Republic versus living here? You're probably still eating
right,
similarly, you're probably doing a lot of the same things. So I don't know what would be the catalyst to make that jump from one thing to another.
right. I didn't see much information on, or I didn't find much information on um, people with sickle cell trait or disease living in those areas. So, however, I did find some information from the UK. Um, let's see. There's about 14,000 people living in the UK with sickle cell disease, and the screening of newborns for sickle cell is part of the National Newborn Screening Program in England. So it's recommended that all babies use, of course, a heel prick to sample to do the newborn screening. Um, and what was put there in England was also the catalyst for the newborn screening program in Jamaica. So I thought that was really interesting. Um, let's see. as well as the screening for sickle cell disease and thalassemia is offered to women in England as part of a routine antenatal care. And I thought another interesting point, it says testing for sickle cell carrier status is universal in high prevalence areas, of course, and targeted in low prevalence areas, with risk assessed by determining the family origins of baby's mother and father using a family's origins questionnaire. That's the only way they test the mother. And the mother should be offered counseling and fathers invited for testing. Like the fathers don't need to
Like
know.
you don't have to.
You know?
Like just do whatever you want to do, maybe.
That's disappointing. I've heard that kind of, well,
It's like you make one step, they make a step forward and then like two back. Like let's consistently move forward everywhere in regards to
exactly.
testing, in regards to education, in regards to requiring testing, like making that a mandatory thing. Sometimes I think that the reason it's not mandatory in some places, I'm not going to say what places I'm talking about, but I think that maybe they're scared of what the overall result is going to be because of what, people's thought process is regarding sickle cell and where it comes from and who it's supposed to affect. And I think that that is one of the reasons, like, we don't have nationwide, worldwide testing across the board. And when you don't, you go back to what we said when we opened up to that 30% increase. The world is really mixing up right now. Like, there's a lot of mixy going on. So I could see that 30% being the wave, being, like what really happened when you don't want to require testing across the board, regardless of your nationality, your heritage, your ethnicity, whatever you want to say, you should still be tested. If you look like me, if you look like
if you don't
Karen, whatever, you should still be tested.
And I honestly think it's all gonna backfire. Like a lot of other things, they try to do. Um, we are excluded from things, but we are not the only ones that suffer from the things that we're being excluded from.
Right.
And some people are just willing to risk their own in excluding us. Did I say that right? Did I say that politically correct?
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, great.
You're talking around the bush, but yeah.
Okay, great. Long as everybody's got it.
We're not trying to offend anyone. We're not trying to be offensive.
Not on purpose.
No, never on purpose, but some people are really sensitive. They may be offended by that comment.
Well, that's
sorry.
okay. A hit off.
Sorry.
Let's go forward.
My bad.
We are not going to cut up today.
We're going to definitely cut up today. And you know why? Because we have mad technical difficulties starting this show today. So we're going to just act up for a whole hour. That's what we're going to do.
And y'all get to see our shenanigans. I'm trying to really review my notes because there was one that said, and I can't remember what website it came from, but it mentioned when we came over here on the transatlantic slave trade and mixed with the Native Americans that the
what did we do? We mixed. Go ahead.
Came over here on the transatlantic slave trade and mixed with the Native Americans, and that's when the beta gene and thalassemia. There it is. The migration of Indians as indentured laborers when slavery was abolished led to the introduction of the beta S gene and thalassemia hemoglobin types, which is interesting. Even more interesting. Okay, so if the native people had the beta S gene, well, that ain't really specific to. Never mind, scratch that thought.
Fresh it.
But so when the African people brought the sickle cell gene over and mixed with these beta gene, and boom, you got sickle beta S type.
So now we got Super X-Men.
That super X-Men. Dang. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and now I'm even more interested in the beta gene, like what's going on that triggers that, or what causes that. Is that a mutation? Is it not? Is it just the person?
I read somewhere, and I don't want to say it because I don't remember what I read verbatim, but it was saying that like people from like the Middle East or like Italian type area, they typically have the thalassemia,
Yeah.
sickle cell thalassemia. So it's interesting to me, like, we know that sickle cell is not a Black disease, but it does seem to differ a little bit ethnically.
Yeah.
So I think that that's interesting and worth a deeper look by us, to understand it a little bit better.
Yeah, and I know of a person. I can't remember if they're of Greek origin or Italian origin, but their kids have sickle Arab
I've heard,
or
okay. I've heard
something
of
that,
that, but I don't know
yeah,
many
but
people who
that
have it.
yeah. So this parent that I know, who I think about three or four of her kids have sickle cell trait, and two of them have the sickle Arab. And like I said, she's either of Greek descent or of Italian descent. Of course, her and her husband are white. Um, so that may be something, that type of hemoglobin that runs mainly in our Caucasian.
Brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was all the information that I found for World Sickle Cell Day. Oh, the first case described of sickle cell, which we talked about before, was a dental student from Grenada. It was found in Chicago, but he was from Grenada. That's it. We talked about Jamaica and how they do it. I know there was information with the Virgin Islands and Tobago and Barbados. I didn't get any specific. I don't think a lot of them have specific information because they don't have current data.
I was about to say the tracking and the data may
Yeah.
be a little bit, I don't want to say antiquated because that's rude, but maybe it's just not as sophisticated as it should be, especially in 2020. With June 19th being World Sickle Cell Day, it would be nice if we could get more information on like a country by country basis of how they handle sickle cell and a way to work together globally, so that it doesn't become more of a public health crisis globally as time goes on.
I agree with that. And I can only hope for the best. We all have to keep hope.
Keep hope alive.
We have to keep hope alive during these crazy, crazy times.
Wow,
Like
that's an understatement.
like I said in my poem, I know it gets discouraging from all ends. I'm still kind of hesitant to even go to the hospital to be treated if need be, but I don't know.
I mean, I definitely understand the hesitation because I know that I have hesitated, just especially during this pandemic, but even beforehand, I hesitated just because of the treatment, or the stress and anxiety that goes along with being hospitalized. Like, but I've worked really hard with my team to build build up to like a less stressful hospital stay. And as you know, I was recently hospitalized just a few weeks ago, and that was the most traumatic stay that I have had in a very, very, very long time. And it was very disheartening that, in 2020, I keep saying that, but in 2020, I'm still running across nurses asking me, how did I get sickle cell? How long have I had sickle cell? And then asking, I'm never rude, and I always look at it as an opportunity to educate someone, because if you flip out and you're like, you should know it, and why are you asking me a stupid question, then that in turn creates an indelible moment on their mind with somebody with sickle cell. So now the next patient who comes in, they may be a little gun shy because the first person and the last person they ever dealt with was rude, crude, disrespectful. But in my mind, I'm like, Dad, how long have you been a nurse? Or how long have you been in this profession? And, a nurse told me just on Friday that in 15 years of her being a nurse, she had never had a sickle cell patient. That doesn't leave me feeling confident in you are taking care of me. It just,
New nurse, please.
like, she was very nice. And we were talking about one of the new medications, um, for sickle cell. And she was supposed to be doing my patient education on the medication. And she literally says to me, I just heard about this medication 10 minutes ago before I called you. Like, excuse me, check please.
Right.
Like, can I get someone else? And then she's like, well, do you have any other questions that I probably can't answer for you?
She sounds like she really didn't even want to do her job. I don't know, because to respond in that way, you have any more questions that I probably can't answer for you? Why'd you even call if you can't answer questions?
Right. I was so thrown off by it. I mean, I appreciate the honesty that you don't know. However, it's not helpful to me as a patient who has questions about this new medication that you're going to be giving me. I mean, good thing I researched everything. So, I did have questions though, but most of the things that I wanted to know about it, I just researched it on my own. But you're the medical professional, and I kind of need you to help lead me.
Right.
That's your job.
Right.
So,
I
while it's great that we all celebrated Juneteenth and World Sickle Cell Day, we just have so much further to go.
Yeah, and I just hope that we are just two of the people who are in this fight to make education, awareness, and support more widespread for us. Um, that just, well, we will be two of the people that make that happen. I'm gonna just put that out there. I think we've done good already, despite feeling that we feel like we are in the same spot as far as the same amount of people not knowing as when we first started. So we just run into more of those people, and the more people we educate is one less person that we have to educate. So
Yeah.
So I want to thank y'all for tuning in. But before we go, I want to let you guys know about a young adult workshop that will be taking place virtually this Thursday at 6, from 6 to 8. We do have some providers that will be on the call with us to discuss COVID-19, Black Black Lives Matter. I was going to say Black Maternity Matters, but that's a separate topic. Um, Black Lives
Oh, that
Matter.
matters too.
What you say?
I said that matters too.
It does. But we'll be talking about Black Lives Matter and just coping with everything that's going on as a young adult and just keeping your health all together. Let's also thank our sponsors. We still would love to thank the Apex Museum and Mr. Dan Moore for his generosity. We want to thank Miss Tanya Robinson, Kids Stop Lake Daycare and Learning Center. And we want to thank the Black Professional Network. So you guys make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Also follow Status Network and Manifest TV on Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, all that on the ticker, Roku, Fire Stick, and anything else on the ticker that I didn't say.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This was a rough road today, but we're so glad for your patience. And we really appreciate you.
And we will see y'all in the studio next time.
Yay, back to the studio. Good
Deadly
night.
combo. Deadly combo. Black Prophet. Charlie Black, AR the Prophet.
AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. Hold up, I don't think they heard me. I said, AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. Hey yo, turn me up a little. We good. AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long overdue, I know the streets been waiting. Which takes a lot of patience, cause you never rush straight. This one's for the record, but going down history in the making. AR the Prophet, Charlie Black, a deadly combination. It's been long